Hi everybody, it's crazy, it's Monday, and it's time for the UPBGE video of the week. Now, before I get started, gotta give a shout out to my trusty, cause you guys rock, to my crazy fam. I love you guys. Now, last week we left off on page 35 in the game engine book. Let me switch over to it, and we left off with constraints. So if you've been following along with the book, this is where we're at. If you haven't, and this is your first video you get to watch, drop down to the comments, get the book, okay, get the files, and start back from page 1, or from episode 1, because that we start from the beginning of the book and we're working straight through. We're on chapter 6 now, and we're getting close towards the end because 42 is the end of chapter 6. So let's get started. All right, so constraints. And last week we left off with, let me switch over to it. There we go. We left off with the water, okay? And if we hit the play button, you'll be done in it. Sorry, my bad. Okay, and you hit spacebar, you should see cubes falling, as you see them falling like right in front of the camera, and they kind of float on the like they're floating on water. Okay, that was the whole idea of it. All right, so it's just a cute little thing that they did. You might want to create an empty to do it on. Right now we just got to set to the camera, so the camera actually emits it. The best way to do that one would be to go ahead and just create you an empty out there by hitting Shift A, mesh, or not mesh, I'm sorry, where's it at? Empties. Okay, and just get you a standardized, standard, plane axis. Okay, now it's right there. Hit grab Z, let's pull it up. Okay, so that's what it looks like, and you can attach everything that is on the camera to it. Okay, you can do that and just put this all over to the empty and you're good to go. Okay, this way it will emit from that instead of the camera, and the reason why it was plopping right in front of the camera is because of the fact that it was hooked to the camera. You can actually hook it to this light up here if you want. We can do either way. Okay, but I was tinkering around with it and was like, why is this so close? And realized, oh, they got it hooked to the camera. So best thing to do is hook it to an empty, hook it to something else away from the camera, so that way you can see it fall. Okay, if you really want to get that aspect of it. All right, so I'm going to continue on with constraints right now. So constraints are frequently used to create joints and mechanical linkages, indispensable components of many games. The constraints property editor is shown. We'll bring it up here, and I'm going to switch over to it. Okay, this is the constraints. I'm sorry, my big head's in the way, but this is the constraint tab right there. Okay, and if I switch back over to here, oh, the wrong one. There we go. If I hit back over here, the constraints tab is right here. Okay, and you can add any number constraints. I believe most of it's still the same. They got rid of script, which is no longer in there. Rigid body joint, pivot, follow path, floor, child of, action, clamp to, dampen, inverse kinematics. That's going to be the one for your character model. Okay, it's for your bones. Okay, lock, track, spine, IK, stretch 2, and track 2, which is where you have them track to you. Okay, you can have NPCs follow you. Okay, copy location, rotation, scale, transforms, limit them, maintain volume, transformation, and transform. Yeah, so they don't have the transform cache. Okay, did you have volume, scale? They have all the limit. Yeah, those they have. Oops. And then, of course, you got your camera, follow, and object, which is the same as in the book. Okay, so the only ones that aren't there is this one is not there, but script is also not here. So, unfortunately, you kind of left it out. All right, so the only supported object constraint is the rigid body joint. It is used to connect two objects together using a user-defined joint. Okay. And I'm going to switch it over here to where you can see. Yep, there we go. Okay, the different ones you can do. Okay, this illustrates a variety of pivot points or pivot types. Okay, you get your generic 6D OF, which is your hinge. Okay, generic slider. Okay, you got your generic hinge or your standard hinge. Okay, and then you get your ball joint, and your generic ball joint, or what they call cone twist. Okay. All right, now I'm going to go into detail of each one of these. So let's switch back over to here. Okay. Now, your ball joints, oops, excuse me, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring that up. Your ball joint, okay, the joints joins two objects together using a ball and socket joint. This type of constraint is free to rotate around all three axes. Okay, hinge joins two objects together using one axis, the hinge axis. This constraint is often used to simulate a door hinge or a wheel on an axle. Cone twist. This is an extension of the ball constraint that supports limiting the angle of rotation. This is especially useful for animating limbs using ragdoll physics. You can set the individual angle limits for each of the three axes, which is really good to use. Okay, the generic 6 DOF. Okay, if none of the above constraints meet your needs, chances are this generic constraint will give you enough control to accomplish any mechanical linkage you can dream up. Okay, so this is basically the universal constraint. Okay. Okay, so once you have decided on the pivot type you'll need to set the target object. The target object is the object that the current object will be linked to. Okay, so when you add a constraint and you want to create one, okay, let's see, which one did it say it was? I'm sorry, just gotta roll back. Okay, yeah, you just go to rigid body joint, okay, and that's what this does. Okay, you select your, scroll down, okay. Once you get your target object, okay, I'm not gonna put anything in right now. Okay, these are all the ones: hinge, curve, and generic. Okay, and then your child object. So it says, let's see. Once you have decided on the pivot type you need, you'll need to set the target object. The target object is the object that the current object will be linked to. So you've got your target object, which let's say it's a cube, and we want to link it to the empty. Okay, so you would do cube here and empty here. Okay. All right, extending constraints. While one constraint might not be useful, constraints can be daisy-chained to simulate many different objects. See constraints chain dot blend, and then we'll go to that here in just a minute. Let's see. Okay, see constraints chain dot blend. Say that 5 times fast. Constraints water mill dot blend, and constraints trampoline dot blend for examples of how to set up multiple constraints. So we're going to go to open. Okay, we're in this one. We're going to go to demo. Okay, because we have it in a demo. Go to constraint chain. Okay, there's constraint blend. Constraints blend. Okay, now if we do that one, we can see all these in action. Okay, so if I hit P right now, you'll see that these all do stuff. Okay, there's nothing really much you can do with them because it doesn't have a mouse where you can play with them, but that's what they do. Okay, so if you hit play, you'll watch them all just do their thing. Okay, all right, so this one will slide out. This one will fall, go either left or right or up and down. Same thing with the regular hinge. Okay, the ball one will rotate in 3. The cone shape will doing that. Now, if you look at these, and let me see if I can add one here. All right, and where is my node editor? Logic editor. Okay, it's not on them. Okay, but do you see each one, and this one has the constraints, which is ball 2, and it's a cone twist. This one is parented to it because it doesn't have a constraint. Okay, so this is ball. See, this is socket 2. This is ball 2. Yeah. So this one is targeted to this one. This one is targeted to this one. This one's targeted to this one, so on and so forth. Okay. All right. So, and there's other ones that you can check out. The constraints chain. You can check out the constraints watermill and constraints trampoline, which are all right here in your demo. Okay. Constraints chain, trampoline, and watermill. You can do look at all 3 of those and see how each one of those work in turn. I'm not going to do it for right now because of the fact that I want you to be able to figure some stuff out for yourself. I already know how these work. I've played with them before, and I'm going to be using them a lot in my games. So, I mean, these are very neat things. You can use this for like arm joints. You can use this for elbows, knees. Sliders you can use for like moving things out and in instead of having to fight stuff. You can just use that constraint instead of adding, an object that actually has to move and move in the exact way. Just so here automatically does it. Okay. Vehicle physics. Now, vehicle physics is a big one. It's actually going to go quite a few up. I didn't figure that one's going to be that short. What are we at? Yeah, we're at 11 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. Next week, we'll work on vehicle physics. That one's going to be fun. Like I said, that one's going to be at least 2 pages long, and it's got a hands-on tutorial in it. So I'll probably make that one for a longer episode. But play around with this. Play around with using constraints. Using constraint ain't so much of a problem, especially if you're using these type of constraints. There are other types of constraints you can use, and we'll go further into that later on. But right now we're just doing the rigid body type because back then that's all you could really use. You can actually use a lot of these. Your inverse schematics will be used on your character model to help with keeping your character standing up or doing other things. Okay, so that helps with a lot of, especially with legs. Okay, so next week we'll continue on page 37. Let me switch back over to here. Nope, over to here. Okay, so next week, page 37, we're going to do vehicle physics. So, till next week.